Let's have a look at the Honest company because there could be a very interesting setup. First off, read this disclaimer carefully. This is the Honest company. It is, an e-commerce store, and it's had some rough times in the stock market, but there is a pretty interesting setup at the moment, and this is the founder, Jessica Alba, so they do certainly have the influencer part, but yeah, there's been issues with the share price, but there might be some light on the horizon. Yeah, the key unique selling points for the company is, sustainable packaging, no animal testing, Green Lab certified, so it's toxicology audited. So I put the Honest company in the micro themes. So natural cosmetics, 6% here from the 52-week low, 67% away from the highs. So we start with the technicals. Obviously, it's been in a downtrend. That much is clear. However, we could maybe form a rounding bottom. What's happening here with the colors? Yeah, we need blue. So this could become a rounding bottom. We do not have a low yet. What we do have is the potentiality of a double bottom. Let me draw that in. So you have this low and you have this potential low. So there's a bit of a floor in development. If we go here to the daily data points. So let me just show you where the floor is. So we're talking about, 5-ish% stop level. Going below the lows here of the 1st of June would be just bad. Then we wouldn't have the double bottom. But yeah, I mean, this is a setup that the bulls should be able to capitalize. If we do not see a turnaround at this level, pretty bad. On the topic of double bottoms, we have seen that work out before with this stock. You have this double bottom here, which resulted in a pretty decent gain here of 36%. So double bottoms, they have worked before. We are pretty low on a bunch of indicators. We do have a MACD buy signal here. That's interesting. On the dailies, we are not at like extreme lows on PPO or RSI. When it comes to accumulation distribution, there was a big spike back here, and it also continued afterwards. So there is some interesting bullish activity. So in my notes here, double bottom is really the name of the game here. This should work. If it doesn't work, then we know when to exit. So when it comes to the technicals, I do think I will give, given the double bottom, I will give the bulls, give them a solid 8, but that is completely contingent on double bottom. If we were to go below the right side of the double bottom, then obviously we wouldn't have a double bottom anymore. But yeah, 8 until further notice. Next, we will look at the seasonality. We have very little data. We do see that last year, August was really good, but the August before that, it was bad. September, a bit of a mild month for the Honest company. October and November, pretty bearish. So seasonality is not good. So in this case, we have very little data, so I wouldn't give a big score here on the seasonality metric, but I do think I will give the bears a -4. This is pretty bearish, volatile at least, seasonality data. Next, we look at the fundamentals, and this is where things get a lot more bullish. So what is especially interesting at this point is that we have a horizontal support level on price book. So this level has worked before. We also see the same thing with price to sales. This is a level where the bulls have a tendency to come in, the fundamental analyst bulls. So that is definitively promising. When we go here to the forecast, we do have 3 analysts with a 1-year price target, 34% above the current level. When it comes to the analyst ratings, we have 2 strong buys, and then we have 3 holds, so basically neutral. So to have horizontal support on the fundamental metrics of the company itself, price book, price to sales, that's pretty bullish and corroborates what we see in the technicals. So the stars are aligned here. So I do think I will give the bulls, yeah, I think I give them a decent 7 on this one. This is good. These are good fundamentals. Next, we will look at relative performance due to how little data we have about this company. We don't get any long-term correlations. Looking at short-term, on the daily data points, we do have a 24% positive correlation with S&P 500. No, minus 62. Okay, minus 62%. I hovered with them. So yeah, we currently, which is the most relevant thing, have a minus 62% correlation with S&P 500. That's rather negative. Minus 57% with XLI, which is the consumer discretionary ETF, and then 54% with XRT, the retail ETF. So the strongest correlation we do have is with XRT, but the correlation, it's there, but we shouldn't make a big deal out of the correlation. It's pretty mild. Looking here at the weekly data points for the XRT, we do see a bit of an uptrend in development here, but it's a bit of a mature uptrend. We're not overbought yet, but we have had a lot of weeks now in a row going up. Seems to be some time cycle patterns as well here. Fairly clean time cycles, being relatively good for long short positions. Currently, we are starting a bit of a downtrend on the time cycles, so that's not bullish. XRT, usually a bit bearish here into mid-ish August. Looking at the table view, yeah, August recently it's been a bit bullish but rather mild. September is pretty bearish, so that's not that good. Now let's compare the Honest company with XRT, like that. So we are pretty low. The Honest company massively underperforming the ETF. It's most strongly correlated with. We're not like really oversold on RSI. On the dailies, we are bouncing here from oversold. So that is pretty interesting. It corroborates other data points we have seen. The caveat is that we have previously gone through periods where we got very oversold, like back in here, 22 of May, the year 2022, and also during the early, March, later, basically throughout March, really, of this year, it's been pretty bearish. But we are seeing a bounce here from support. When it comes to the seasonality between this pair, last year, the Honest company outperformed XRT in August and also September. So that's pretty promising, especially September seasonality here being that good for the Honest company. So when it comes to relative performance, some interesting data points. I think this warrants. I think I will give the bulls a 5. This is pretty interesting. So we end up with 4 in favor of the bulls for the Honest company. We do have a double bottom, and the double bottom is really the make or break for this thesis. If we do lose this indicator, then all bets are off, really. Of course, we still will have the case with bullish fundamentals and relative performance data. That's bullish, but I do prefer to have a key entry signal and also a stop loss. If we look here at the chart for the Honest company, then this is a pretty clean level. You have it's going to open up a bit today, but you would consider like a 4-ish% stop level. Of course, you could have a shakeout. Maybe it goes further down before it forms a low, but I think it's most prudent in this case to just use the double bottom, because if we were to explore the lows here of the 31st of May, that would also mean that there's more sellers than we want there to be. Like a bullish thesis has more buyers than sellers. So we're sort of not supposed to go down there. But of course, you could use that as the stop loss level. But then you are all of a sudden looking at approaching a 7% stop loss level. And that would also be, a new all-time low for the stock. And yeah, going from like a 4% to like a 7-ish% stop loss level, that's a bit of a jump. So at that point, you're basically almost doubling the stop loss you want to sort of like take. And I do prefer to have pretty tight stop loss levels because that enables me to try more opportunities. If you have like wide stop losses, then yeah, you get burnt so badly when you have those that doesn't work out. So even if you have like a 50% track record when it comes to picking the direction, if the stop loss is tight, then and the gains from the winners is better than the losses, then the statistics work out over time. So yeah, all in all, I think the Honest Company is a pretty interesting case right here and right now. If double bottom fails, I would just let this one exit. Just let the stop do its thing. And if that were to happen, it could become more serious for the company because the paradox of the stock market is that you have way more securities looking for money than you have money looking for securities. So you will always have these situations where money flows into like certain groups and then can easily flow out of them. And you will have a pretty huge chunk really of the market that doesn't have like a consistent inflow of money. So that's why most stocks actually do not become winners, and why picking winners can be especially difficult. If the Honest Company position works out, then you could, of course, remove the stop loss level and then turn it into like a trailing stop, where the stop loss sort of moves along with the stock. The funny thing about that kind of method is that you can actually have winning positions in stocks that actually go down systematically. Like if you do that with the Honest Company, if you did that with the Honest Company before, even though it was in a downtrend, with that trailing stop from the times when it began an uptrend, even though it would go even further down, further into the future, the trailing stop would stop you out, so you would have a gain. So yeah, whatever you do, of course, you do want to let the trend be your friend, and go to diamondarm.com for more info.